are more than a trend.
Yeah.
We're forever a part of the culture. HBCU Pulse always has you on lock. From the shade room to your favorite news feed, and now on your TV and radio. We are the #1 outlet for HBCU culture. Follow HBCU Pulse on social media and visit hbcupulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Pulse and host of HBCU Pulse Radio, in the building for another special edition of the show once a day, where we're continuing our interview series, the HBCU Experience, the HBC Band Alumni 3rd edition. We're doing interviews with amazing alumni of band programs around the nation. And it, of course, is all for the book, The HBC Experience, the HBC Band Alumni 3rd edition, that's going to be releasing on Amazon really soon. Trailer's coming really soon. The link's coming really soon. Make sure to tap in with that. And I want to give the countdown. We are only, 3 days away from football season. And technically, band season too. You know what I'm saying? It's football and band season all together. You know, so listen, we have an amazing instrumentalist that is coming here from Prairie A&M University, the Marching Storm SWAC band. We had two MEAC band members, we had three former MEAC band members. Now we have the SWAC in the building. Super excited to bring on Miss LaNitra Dean in the building. How you doing today?
Hi.
Listen, you're the first SWAC person to come on with this series. What's going on?
Well, let me hair flip.
Listen, you the first. We had three MEAC people, A&T and two Morgan State. So it's like, listen, you got to give the SWAC perspective tonight. You ready for that?
Yes, of course. The SWAC is the best. So
okay, all right. I hear you. Like, well, let's do this real quick before we start. Are you ready for Saturday? MEAC SWAC Challenge. You ready?
So I will not be there, but I'm waiting to hear the buzz on it, and I'm waiting to see the videos because I know people are going to be posting videos.
Yes. So listen, MEAC SWAC Challenge time is in the building. So we're going to talk about the HBC Band of the Year competition really quickly too. But for those that don't know who you are, let them know who you are and what school you're repping.
So my name is LaNitra Dean. I'm repping Prairie A&M University.
I love it. I want to say once again, SWAC, okay? SWAC, we have MEAC. Now we got SWAC in the building.
West Athletic Conference, baby.
Yeah, we love to hear it. We love to hear it. So let's go on and get into it. So you SWAC, Prairie A&M University, Marching Storm. What made you choose Prairie A&M University as your HBCU?
Well, when your middle school band director is Prairie A&M University alumni from the Marching Storm, and your high school band director is also from Prairie A&M University, it's kind of like destiny that you follow what you know. And then also starting in middle school, when I saw Prairie for the first time, I was like, oh my God. I always saw TSU growing up, but the first time I saw Prairie in middle school and I was in band, I was like, I'm going to Prairie View.
I love it. No, I love it. See, that's the impact of education. See, people sleep on that. Like when you have educators that went to HBCUs, they make it seem so cool. You have the Greek ones, they step and they stroll, and then you got all the other stuff going on. They band members, they do the different stuff. So it's a different type of swag that comes with it. I will never forget. Like I was at a high school and I was just there filming. I was invited to come, and you had one of the campus kings at the time. He was Mr. Tuskegee, and we were at a high school. He was an alpha. He started strolling, and they were just mystified. They were like, yo, that's so crazy. So listen, that experience is always amazing, but I got to ask you about this experience. So you had Prairie A&M educators in your life. So did you ever go to the Labor Day Classic when you were little?
Yes.
So you got to tell me about that experience. How was that?
So, but I went, but I don't think we really looked at the bands, but this is like elementary school. It was like, oh, we're going for the football team. And then halftime we would leave, but it was only because like my mom didn't want to deal with the traffic and everything. So I really didn't see the bands. I saw TSU before I ever saw Prairie View, and that's because they used to be at like a lot of the parades in the city of Houston. So TSU was one school that I was just like, okay, I know about TSU. I knew about the football teams and stuff like that. But when it came to the band, I really didn't know about Prairie View until middle school. So by then I wasn't going to the Labor Day Classic. It was something that we went to when I was a kid, but we really didn't stay most of the time to be able to see what Prairie View did on the field. It was just, oh, we're here for the football team, and then all right, we're gone.
Listen, like that's such a black parent story. They're like, listen, we're gonna leave to beat the traffic. Like that's such a black parent story. It's like we are not staying around for this. I'm not gonna be in this traffic all day. I got work tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I got church tomorrow. On Saturday, I got church tomorrow. So listen, we all universally understand that went to HBCUs. So you got to tell us about this, right? So you were a member of the Marching Storms. You got to tell us about how it felt to be a member of the Marching Storm, because we saw it was a docu-series that was on the CW about Prairie View, the Marching Storm. So we saw a little bit of that. We got to hear from you what your experience was like.
Man, I love the Marching Storm. I love being in the band. The energy in the band was crazy. We had so many people that you always felt motivated to be out on the field, to go to practice, to it was an escape. Band was an escape from your day-to-day life. Marching Storm was your escape. You got all these classes, you got instructors and professors, hounding you on things. But then when you get to band practice, when you get to that field, when you get to the performances, it was energetic. I got my life. Like, I felt like I got my life. I got my life from performing. I got my confidence and motivation from being a part of Prairie View's band. It was lit. Like, we had a lot of fun. we had a lot of fun. And people make it seem like band is lame. I play sports.
Wait. Who think band lame? Who said that?
Well, people be like band geeks and stuff like that.
White people.
No,
really?
I want to be in band. But that's when band was transitioning. At my time, band was in that transition to being cool. In the 90s, Marching Storm bands were transitioning to being cool. And so when my brother started band and afterwards I started band years later, it was like you had people in my family that, why you don't play sports? I'm like, well, I do play sports, but I really don't like it that much. Like, I get excited to play a song that comes on the radio. I get excited to be out on the field and do all these different shapes and shake my butt and have fun. And like, I got excited to do that. Playing sports for me, it wasn't as exciting as being in band. Being with the Marching Storm was something that I look forward to. I know it's going to be a grueling practice. I know we're going to have to get back in the hole, go in the hole time and time again, but it was exciting. The Marching Storm it's an exhilarating experience.
So you got to give me some clarity on like what life was, because clearly this was before Drumline came out. Because listen, the band, cool, like the band, everybody wanted to be a part of that Drumline. When Drumline came out, I gotta understand, because when Drumline came out, I was like, that's 2002. I was in like kindergarten, I think, or first grade, like one of the two. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like we was all in the band, and everybody wanted to be a part of the Drumline, and I was a part of the Drumline. I was on snare, I was on bass drum, in middle school, but I quit after middle school. You know what I'm saying? But like, you guys, so what was it like before that? So it really was like a bad perception. Folks like, oh, they're nerds, they're geeks. That was the really good perception.
The older generation in my family, because like my mom was an athlete, my dad was an athlete. They loved music. They had a really good love for music. And my mom made me and my brothers be in choir, right? But when it came time for like extracurricular activities itself, it was, sports. And a lot of people back then were pushing sports, but we started seeing that, I don't know, Houston, let me go back. Houston in particular, the band programs in Houston in the 90s had bands that were 200 plus kids. Sometimes you had 100 to 200 plus kids. And so even though the adults kind of looked at it like, why you don't want to run track? Why you don't want to play sports? It was, man, do you know how cool this is? Do you know how, like, when we walk around campus, people are like, our peers, man, y'all killed it. Y'all was blowing. Like that. That's why I say it's exciting to hear that, because even though the parents at that time, like, or my parents and some of my relatives, like, man, when after I do a performance and I get off that field, I had my peers like, man, y'all was killing it during halftime. Y'all sound good. Man, y'all was Houston lingo. Y'all was yakking. Y'all was yakking, man. And that type of thing was like, okay, I got my energy. But yeah, I think in the 90s is really when I'm gonna say the focus for band, especially for Black bands, was really propelled higher than what you've seen with other people who would be like, you want to do band? It's went down since then. So in Houston, you'll see the school I went to, for example, it's no longer a school. It was the district was dissolved, but MB Smiley High School was known as the Marching Quake, resembles the Marching Storm, right? So the band director was from, shout out Mark Gordon. He's Prairie View A&M alumni. And during that time, we had 150 to 200 piece band. This was in 98 to 2002, before I got to Prairie in 2002. So at that time, you did see more bands getting bigger. And then afterwards, when they started cutting the music programs and the funding, you start seeing it go down. But when they put funding into those music programs in the 90s, it went high.
It went up. See, I got so many thoughts because, the cut in the programs, like, my brother is in high school band, Northeast High School, and we go to his concert, recital in the spring. And one thing that they repeatedly say, he's a junior now, so we've been twice. They say, listen, support musical arts, because that helps these kids in high school. It helps folks out. So it's like, I always heard that. And even me being in band when I was in middle school, I'm like, wow, like that's something that was helpful. That did give folks things to do after school. But also another thing that you touched on is, like, I'm watching Why Not Us Howard Golf, and that's Steph Curry's new show on ESPN Plus. And it was a guy that was on it as a part of the golf team that is a Howard student. And he said a lot of folks were asking him, why don't you play football? Why don't you play basketball? Why are you playing golf? So I think what I'm hearing is like a misunderstanding of, like, number one, what people love, and also the fact that you don't got to be like everybody else. So that's what I'm hearing right now. I'm picking it up. Like, I'm seeing it all come together. That's what I'm seeing.
My brother, my younger brother, do look like a linebacker. He was a big guy. And when he transitioned in middle school, because we all came into middle school and on our instruments, the family was like, why are you not playing football? Man, you need to be playing football. So I think it's one of those things where back then we looked at band like, man, this is cool. This is an experience to play music. We sitting up there, we excited to play the different songs that we hear on the radio and learn and stuff and perform it. But other people, because they're so used to athletic children, they were thinking that everybody's going to go that path. And you see now that a lot of people are pushing for athletic as opposed to band. So you see more kids now, and that's because they defunded a lot of those music programs. I know in the city of Houston, they defunded a lot of those music programs, but there's a lot more athletic programs, especially in the inner city.
Yeah, that makes a big difference, because a lot of things, I think a lot of people really look at the money that goes into sports, especially like you look at basketball, football, like, hey, like you can do this professionally. You can go out there. Of course, you get the adulation, the status, but also if you're good enough, if you're big enough, if you're tall enough, you're athletic enough, you might could get signed to the pros and get a contract. Yeah. So I definitely see that. But I want to ask you this. So what I've refrained from doing these past, I believe, 3 or 4 interviews, I think it's the 4th interview, Like I always ask in the typical HBCU band interviews with the other books that aren't about band books, I ask about drumline. So I refrain from that because I don't like to be your normal interview. I want to be like, he did a real good job. Like you think about it tomorrow, like, he asked some good questions. So I got to ask you this. So we're going to get a little bit deeper then. Okay. So do you think that media opening up to the HBCU band experience with Drumline, with the march orders that was on Netflix, like with Bama State Style that was on Lifetime and it went to Aspire. You see so many cultural videos and so much cultural content around band life. You see YouTube, you see all these different things. You see the halftime shows now, the Bayou Classic that was on NBC showing the band. But now all of that is combined together. Do you think that helped in the perception of band culture?
Yeah, I think Drumline itself made band cool. And for the longest period of time, a lot of I remember 2002, because it came out, I was in college at the time, 2002, so I'm gonna say about 2000, maybe 2009, there were a lot of kids that started going into the band programs. Also, that was, again, a lot of the time where you saw it being defunded as well. But I do think that movie and the things that you see around band culture does show the coolness, the cool factor of being in band. It shows, man, these people are, one, physically athletic. They have to be able to play and march at the same time and dance. They have to have the wind capacity to play their instruments, that lung capacity. It makes it like, okay, this is cool. And then when you started seeing HBCU bands like Morris Brown featured in music videos, my God, that really took it to a next level with band culture itself. I remember even when 2004, we performed with Destiny's Child halftime for the Dallas Cowboys show. That's more exposure that, the band culture received. And so it was also, I think, Tennessee State, Texas Southern. Like, there's so many different bands that have Southern University, like, that receive so many different exposure from just media that helps the universities. The only thing that I see is that in order for the universities to have that longevity and to keep pushing outside of the media is bringing back those different programs, the band programs funded in the middle schools and high schools to increase the numbers. Because now I do see where it's so spread out in terms of enrollment in programs that HBCUs kind of still get a lot of people, but it's not the typical demographic that they used to go to. They have to go to the suburbs now to get those individuals. So it's more spread out. When you got a 150-piece band, you have 40 individuals graduating in a senior class, and you can pull 20 of those to Prairie View. 10 can go to TSU, and 5 is going to Southern. Another 5 is going over here to Grambling. But Grambling, I love y'all, but when the Cotton Bowl come, y'all know what it is. But I'm just saying those type of things is what really helped pull the band to where it is in terms of just that exposure. But we, instead of just having that exposure, we still need that funding in those schools to continue growing the band so that they continue to have that exposure.
I love that. So let's transition into this before we talk about your chapter in the book. So pretty sure you've heard ESPN is doing the Band of the Year competition, and they've stressed that it is a competition, Division I, Division II bands. It's 2 separate competitions to crown a band national champion. So that's been going all around, and really the season starting week 0, we're going to really start to see these bands start to get graded. They got a schedule of who's going to be evaluated and different things of that sort coming out really soon. So what do you think about it? Like, how you feeling about it?
I feel that it's a really good thing. I'm glad that ESPN is starting to recognize HBCU bands. First and foremost, I remember a lot of times where just HBCUs wasn't even the focus for ESPN. You really didn't see that. we didn't see HBCUs on ESPN for the longest time, but because of our showmanship, because we do have something to bring to their channel, you see that, okay, now let's cover the bands. At first I think it used to just be maybe a game here or there, but now it's let's cover the bands. Let's bring the bands to the forefront. So I'm excited to see how that could also impact just the marching organizations in different schools. But I'm wondering what it's going to do also for enrollment, having just enrollment for a school in general. Being on a national platform to be able to see a school that you probably haven't seen in Wisconsin, right? I'm in Wisconsin and I'm like, oh, HBCUs, what's that? So a Black person that is not in the South, because we know most of the HBCUs are located in the South. Of course, we know why. We know why. I think that ESPN giving that national platform to just HBCUs in general will definitely help enrollment. Of course, there's things that we need to do to be able to assist with that enrollment, but that's a completely different topic. But I really appreciate them for recognizing our existence, what we bring in terms of entertainment. It's so different from what we see DCI bands do. It's similar, but it's to a different level, with what we do. Even with other schools that's in the NCAA, like those bands, they're good musically, and I love listening to them. But when you put an NCAA band with their musicality to a performing band, you get something totally different. That's like Taylor Swift she's a good artist, but when you put her next to Beyonce, it's totally different. And that's why I think that ESPN doing that it's only gonna do good, not only for them. And I see what they're looking into. There's always an agenda. There's always an agenda, like, okay, let's get these Black people here, let's get this. But they know that there's a market for it.
I love it. Hey, you gave the perfect example of Taylor Swift and Beyonce. And I gotta love Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, she's like a very cool person. But Beyonce is on another level. And I would just say this really quickly, and I always say this. It reminds me of when my HBCU, Fort Valley State University, went against Bardolphin State University. We got beat bad in football. We've beaten them before. Now, historically, we've beaten them before. So we be good at football when we want to be, but like we've beaten them before. But the band performance, we blew them out because we came out playing Back That Thing Up. They did a rendition of Toy Story and Disney movies. And I was like, what the world? I was out there filming. I'm like, let me walk back over to my side. What they got going on? I did not hear that. I did not come here to hear You Got a Friend in Me from Toy Story. You know what I'm saying? Like I just turned on the DVD. At home, I got it in my dorm room probably somewhere. So I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. But let's talk about your chapter in the book, the HBCU Experience, the HBC Band Alumni 3rd Edition. You got insight about what's really going on. So I know your chapter, you breaking the game down. So tell us what it's about.
So my chapter is about my experience from basically starting from when I was a kid, how I got into band, the things that created me in terms of who I am now, but it really focuses on just the leadership aspect, the motivation, how it inspires, because a lot of times I feel like people don't really understand how great a band program can make you a great adult. It can really give you your career in most cases. Because even though your degree is in something, you may be doing something totally opposite of your degree because of what you learned in band. So with me, I transitioned from a musician to a fitness instructor. How does one do that? All of that is explained in the book, how I go from being a musician to a dancer to a fitness instructor. And I have multiple formats, 3 gyms that I work at. And it's like, how did that happen? Well, that information is in my chapter about how I transitioned my life and how band helped me transition my life, and how the people who I was involved with within the band directors, the people who were in leadership, drum majors, the people who brought me in and said, hey, this is what you need to do, get here. How I ended up having my own dance group. I'm not a majorette, but I can dance. So it really touches on my transition into the adult me. And I think that's a really good story to find out, well, who becomes a fitness instructor and how does that happen? Well, I mean, you got to work the band out. Somebody got to be out there. Somebody got to come up with the calisthenics. Somebody got to come up with the band, with the dance routine. Who did that? Who thought it was cool to, for example, so coming up with routines for 200 plus people to do, it's not the easiest thing. So I was on dance committee. And when you think about movement, how this is gonna look, it's okay, well, you get to studying. You get to studying the movements of certain things. Will this look how we want it to look from somebody who is sitting far up in the nosebleeds, if there's the nosebleed section open? So a lot of that comes with learning how to be creative. As a fitness instructor, the band helped me be creative in just coming up with stuff on the spot. So I had an aqua class last week. Never did an aqua class. The ladies, after they left that pool, they were like, this was awesome. When are you coming back? And I'm like, and I'm playing Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm playing Prince. The playlist was just stuff that, oh, I remember this song from band. And I'm having them do certain things. So it really just touches on how this woman became who she is in terms of a fitness instructor. How does that work? And how does she use music and band to further that career?
I love it. Hey, listen, I'm excited to read your book. You got a lot. You got a whole entire journey. We got to really get into when we read the chapters. So we're excited for that. So listen, the HBCU experience, the HBCU Band Alumni 3rd edition is coming out really soon. That trailer gonna drop. It's gonna go crazy. Then of course the football season, Me X Black Challenge is coming up on Saturday. You repping the SWAC. You already know what time it is, you know what I'm saying? So, we're really excited for that. But before we go, tell everyone where they can find you on social media, how we can support you.
So you can find me on TikTok, of course. It's LaNitra Lachic, LaNitra LACHIC. And then on Instagram, same thing, LaNitra Lachic. That's pretty much it for now. But I look forward to seeing you guys. If you're ever in Houston, I work at 3 different gyms on the north side. So if you're ever at Lifetime Fitness, Crunch Fitness, if you're ever at Fitness Connection and you want to drop in, just hit me up on Instagram and say, hey, what days of the week are you at the gym? I'll definitely be there. But I am looking to start traveling. So I may be in your city. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will be able to see that.
Hey, listen, pull up time. Listen, it's just argument. Hey, listen, pull up. And it's all good.
Because you remember, I was in bed, so I got a lot of energy.
Hey, listen. All you gotta do is pull up. That's the first thing. Pull up. So listen, we love to see it. Listen, LaNitra, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Amazing. The energy. We love it. Amazing. Listen, the HBCU experience, the HBCU Band Alumni 3rd edition, coming out really soon. I'm gonna have a date for you next week. We're coming back with interviews next Tuesday. So make sure to tap into that. And then, Wednesday we have, a lot of heavy hitters, and that's going to be our grand finale for this series of interviews. But outside of that, thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's a lot going on this Wednesday. So thank you for checking in real quick. And as always, we'll see you on the other side.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to hbcupulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.